And joining me now is Bungoma County Governor Wycliffe Wangamati. Thank you so much for making time for us and for hosting us in your gracious county.
Thank you, Zainab.
Indeed. Maybe if we just begin off, I'd like you to tell us, what would you say is your most outstanding achievement so far ever since taking office?
Zainab, thank you very much. I think first and foremost, I want to take this opportunity to welcome the NTV team to Bungoma County. But before I discuss some of the issues that you want us to discuss, I think when we took over the office on the 8th of August last year, when we came to the office, the 2017-2018 financial year budget had already been done by the previous administration. So when we came in the office, there are quite a number of issues that were picked up. And I think it will be important for me to point out some of those issues. One, when we joined the government, we realized that there's a number of ECD teachers that had been employed. Those teachers were employed on permanent and pensionable terms, but there was no budget for those teachers. There was the issue of nurses and doctors that had not been captured in the 2017-2018 financial year. And all these issues, Zainab, meant that we had to relook at the entire budget. And fundamentally for me, one of the key objectives that maybe I have achieved in my first year as the governor of this county is financial prudence in management of resources of this county. I think that I have done over the last 1 year.
So that you would say was the most outstanding thing that you've done.
Yes.
Let's talk about the agriculture sector in your county. Quite a lot is happening, but let's just focus on the sugar sector. You know, Bungoma is part of the sugar belt in the country, but it has faced quite a lot of turmoil in the past few months, past few years. Even there has been, you know, the government saying they're going to close some of the millers, you know, which part of it is the Trans-Nzoia miller, which sits in your county. How do you receive that? Do you think that is a solution to helping revive the sugar industry in the country?
I think, Zainab, the sugar industry is very fundamental for us in the county. And it's important that people do appreciate what we are talking about. The Nzoia Sugar Company, in my own estimation, impacts in excess of 500,000 people in this county. Now, when you look at the performance of the sugar industry in the entire country, and more so in Western Kenya, it has been wanting. Farmers have been going over years without payment. Even as we speak now, staff are going months without salary. So it's an issue that we need to discuss and have a conversation around that issue.
Do you think there's a problem with the management?
Of course there is. Let me just come back to your question. And over the last 2 months, we have had discussions about this issue. I remember when we had the summit, the Council of Governors with His Excellency the President, I did request in that meeting that there should be a discussion about the sugar industry. Following that, the President did mandate the Minister of Agriculture to have a meeting with the governors of Western, the members of Parliament, the senators. We met in Nairobi. Thereafter, we had a meeting with the President. And then during the Mashujaa Day, the President came down and we had a meeting with him just before the Mashujaa Day. And we agreed on a number of issues. One, we agreed in principle that the national government should pay all outstanding arrears to farmers. Secondly, we also agreed in principle that those arrears should be paid direct to the farmer's account, so that when that money comes from the national treasury, it goes direct to the farmer's account, as opposed to the way it has been used, that it goes to the factories. Three, we also agreed that there should be a task force that is set up to look at the entire sugar industry. And a number of issues that have affected this industry. One, of course, importation of sugar from outside the country. Secondly, of course, the issue of the way private millers and public millers relate in the industry. So all of the issues we need to look at so that we can see what is the best way going forward.
As a stakeholder, of course.
My view, Zainab, is that as we sort out the short term, those arrears to farmers, we must also focus on the long term.
Right.
And the long term, it may be need for strategic investors to come and invest in the sugar industries.
All right. Away from that, let's now focus on infrastructure in your county. You know, you promised to establish an industrial park, construct Matulo airstrip, and a number of other mega projects. How do you propose to achieve all this by the end of the tenure of your, county?
Before I even come to some of the projects that we were doing, Zainab, and that is why I was alluded to the fact that at the end of the day, financial prudence in the management of resources is very important. Because once you manage your resources very well, cap any corruption that is there, cap any wastage that is there, then you will have the resources to do these projects. And just to sort of give you an idea is that when we came in the office, when you look at the road network in this county, the rural network, it's only 20% of the roads are accessible in Bungoma. 20%. I think in terms of the tarmac roads, it's less than 6% of the roads are tarmac. And that is a big issue for us. Now, when we came in the office, of course, with the CCs and most of the CC in roads, we looked at how do we then deal with some of these issues. One, we partnered with the national government, hired machines from national government to open up roads in all our wards. We have about 45 wards in this county, Zainab. We have done an average of 5 kilometers of roads in every ward in the 45 wards. And that has gone to allow it to open up roads. We have also opened up an additional 200 kilometers of road in the rural areas using the levy fuel money that we receive from national government. As we speak now, in the 2018-2019 financial year, we have put money, and I'm sure you have been in town, we have put money to dual the road from Muskoma on your way to Mumias all the way to Kandui. And that is going to cost us in excess of 1 billion shillings.
All right.
But I think it's going to change the landscape of Bungoma town.
All right.
We have also, there's a road that we are tarmacking from Misihu to Brigadier. I think when we came to the office, I think they had already done about 700 meters of tarmac. But as we speak now, Zainab, we have done about 10 kilometers of tarmac. The entire road will be about 42 kilometers. I think we believe that by end of next year, December 2019, we should have done a tarmac that road of 42 kilometers. Wow. Now, in terms of other infrastructure,
all right,
we have in our budget the 2018-2019 financial year, we have budgeted to renovate one of our biggest stadiums in this county, Masinde Muliro Stadium, to a world-class stadium. And that will cost us maybe in excess of 700 million. And again,
all right,
that links to the first thing that I told you, financial prudence in management of resources.
In management of resources. Let's talk about, let's talk about the tourism sector. Even that is raked in. You have a number of tourist attractions in the county. How are you able to tap into that to actually increase the revenue in your county?
I think first and foremost is that we must first identify these tourist attraction centers, and I must say there are quite a number in Bungoma County. Of course, there is Webuye waterfalls, but more importantly, we have one of the biggest national parks in the country, Mount Elgon, that nobody knows about it. And I think as a county government, we are trying to market some of these tourist attractions, and for people who are coming to the county like yourself, encourage them to look around and move around the county and see some of these sites that we have.
All right, there's quite a lot to discuss in terms of, the developments that you've made in in your county. But what are those 3 things you would like to be remembered for by the time you're leaving the office?
I think one, when we took over the county government, one sector that we really had a huge impact over the last 1 year is the education sector. And when we were campaigning, Zainab, is that it was very clear that we have a lot of needy students who want to pursue education, and because of financial issues they may not be able to. Now, when I took over the office, as I told you, because of financial prudence, we were able to reallocate in excess of 1 billion shillings from recurrent expenses to some of these projects. And to do that, then we increased the bursary allocation from 180 million to 400 million towards needy students across the entire county. In the process, Zainab, we set up a scholarship program to help needy students who pass standard 8 and then go to high school. Some of them end up in national schools, but they don't have the money to go to those national schools. And that, in my view, has been a very successful program, has benefited in excess of about 400 students. And even one of the students comes from a very poor background, Zainab. This student did his first exam standard 8 in 2014. But because of fees, he went back to standard 7 in 2015, sat standard 8 in 2016. Again, because of fees, went back and sat in 2017. And then we picked him under the scholarship program, the governor's scholarship program. So that is one thing that we have done. The other thing in education that probably we have done extremely well is the ECD teachers.
All right.
We increased the salary of ECD teachers. Those ones on certificate from 8,000 to 3,000, and from those ones with diploma from about 10,000 to 28,000 shillings per month. Backdated that to July last year. So that is a massive thing that we have done for the education sector.
All right, and I think it is quite remarkable that you're putting the education sector as a priority for your government, for the residents of Bungoma in your tenure, and it's quite a lot we need to discuss. But at this point, allow me to thank you so much.
But let me just, before I go, Zainab,
yes,
quickly.
Yes.
I think one of the things that you did ask me about is the industrial park. And I think the rate of unemployment in this country is massive.
Right.
As a county government, and I must say, as the chair of trade and industry at the Council of Governors, we are very keen as the county government of Bungoma to set up an industrial park in this county. And I think one of the biggest thing that we're going to do, and the biggest industry in that industrial park, is going to be the milk processing plant. In my view, it's going to have a huge impact on household income in this county.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Bungoma Governor Wycliffe Wangamati. Thank you so much for making the time for us and for hosting us.